Muhammad Ali was training for the biggest fight of his life when a father brought his dying 8-year-old son to meet him. The boy was bald from chemotherapy and had weeks to live. Ali held him close and made a promise that would change everything. What happened next is one of the most powerful stories in sports history, and it happened away from all the cameras. It was summer 1974, and Muhammad Ali was preparing for what everyone said was impossible, beating George Foreman to reclaim the heavyweight championship of the world. Foreman was younger, stronger, and had destroyed every opponent he'd faced. He'd demolished Joe Frazier in 2 rounds. He'd obliterated Ken Norton. Most experts gave Ali no chance. Some even feared the fight might kill him. Ali was training at his camp in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, a rustic facility he'd built himself in the mountains. Every day was the same brutal routine: road work at dawn through the Pennsylvania hills, hours in the gym working the heavy bag and speed bag, endless rounds of sparring with multiple partners, strategy sessions that lasted deep into the night. The pressure was enormous. The entire world was watching. This wasn't just another fight. This was Ali's chance to prove he could still be champion after being stripped of his title for refusing to go to Vietnam. This was his chance to show that at 32, he wasn't too old, wasn't washed up, wasn't finished. This was redemption. This was resurrection. This was everything. On this particular day in late July, Ali had just finished what his trainers called one of the most punishing training sessions they'd ever witnessed. He'd gone 12 hard rounds with 3 different sparring partners. He was exhausted, drenched in sweat, his body screaming for rest. He was walking toward the locker room when Gene Kilroy, his business manager and close friend, approached him with a concerned look on his face. "Champ," Kilroy said, keeping his voice low so others wouldn't hear. "There's a father here with his son. The boy is very sick. Terminal cancer. Leukemia. The doctors have given him only a few weeks, maybe less." The father drove all the way from Ohio, hoping maybe, just maybe, you might have a minute to say hello to the boy. "I know you're exhausted and I can send them away if you want, but—" Kilroy didn't need to finish. Ali had met hundreds of sick children over the years. Each encounter broke his heart a little more, left him feeling helpless against an enemy he couldn't fight with his fists. But he never said no. Never turned anyone away, never made a sick child feel like they were an inconvenience or a burden. "Where are they?" Ali asked, his exhaustion suddenly forgotten. "Over by the gym entrance. I told him to wait there, that I'd ask you." "Gene," Ali said, looking his friend directly in the eyes, "you never have to ask. You bring them to me. Every time. You hear me? Every time." Service to others, Ali believed, with every fiber of his being, was the rent we pay for our time here on earth, and he was determined to pay his rent in full. A few minutes later, the father walked over, his hand wrapped protectively around his son's small hand. You could see the weight of the world on this man's shoulders, the exhaustion of sleepless nights in hospitals, the grief of knowing he was losing his child, the desperation of a parent who would do anything, give anything, to save his boy. The boy was small for 8 years old, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He looked up at Ali with eyes full of wonder and fear, the way sick children look at the world when they're trying to memorize everything before it's too late.
"This is Billy," the father said, voice cracking. Ali knelt down to eye level with the boy. "Billy, it's an honor to meet you." Billy shook Ali's hand with small, weak fingers. He was trying to be brave. "Why you wearing that hat on a hot day like this?" Ali asked gently. Billy hesitated, then slowly removed his cap. He was completely bald. The chemotherapy had taken everything. "I got cancer," Billy said simply. "Real bad. The doctors say I only got a few weeks." For a moment, nobody spoke. Ali looked at this innocent child who should have been playing and being a kid, and he felt something break inside his chest. Then Ali did what came naturally to him. He opened his arms wide and pulled Billy into a hug. Not a quick, perfunctory embrace, but a real hug, the kind that says, "You matter, you're important, you're seen." Gene Kilroy, who had been standing a respectful distance away, grabbed his Polaroid camera and snapped a photo. The image he captured would become one of the most powerful photographs ever taken of Muhammad Ali, although almost nobody would see it for decades. In the photo, Ali is kneeling on the ground, his massive frame folded down to child height, his muscular arms wrapped gently around a tiny, bald boy. Billy's face is buried in Ali's shoulder. Ali's eyes are closed, and you can see on his face something rare: vulnerability, tenderness, a grief so deep it transcends words. They stood like that for what felt like forever, but was probably only a minute or two. Billy buried his face deeper into Ali's shoulder, and Ali just held him, one hand cradling the back of Billy's head where hair used to be, the other arm wrapped protectively around the child's fragile body. Around them, the camp had gone quiet. The other boxers, the trainers, the hangers-on who were always at training camp, everyone had stopped what they were doing to watch this moment. Several people were crying. Even the toughest guys in the camp, men who'd seen every kind of violence in the boxing ring, were wiping their eyes. Billy's father had turned completely away now, his shoulders shaking as he sobbed quietly, overwhelmed by the kindness this famous man was showing his dying son. When they finally separated, Ali kept his hands on Billy's shoulders and looked directly into his eyes. "Billy, you know what I'm about to do, right? You're going to fight George Foreman. That's right. And you know what everyone says?" Billy nodded. "They say you're going to lose." Ali smiled. "Yeah. They say I'm too old, too slow. They say Foreman's going to knock me out. But you know what?" "What?" Billy whispered. "I'm going to win. You know why? Because I decided it. When Muhammad Ali decides something, it happens." Billy managed a small smile, the first real smile his father had seen in weeks. Then Ali leaned in closer, like he was sharing the most important secret in the world. His voice became softer, but somehow more intense. "Billy, I'm going to make you a promise, and I need you to make me a promise back. This is serious. This is a real deal between you and me. Okay?" "Okay," Billy whispered, his eyes wide. "Here's my promise to you. I'm going to beat George Foreman. Everyone says I can't do it. They say I'm too old. They say Foreman hits too hard. They say I should retire and save myself the embarrassment. But you know what I know?" Billy shook his head. "I know that when you decide something, I mean really decide it, not just wish it or hope it, but decide it in your heart, you can make it happen. I have decided I'm going to beat George Foreman, not because it's easy, not because people believe in me, but because I decided it. And when Muhammad Ali decides something, it becomes real. That's my promise to you. I will beat George Foreman. Write it down. Remember it. I promise you." Billy's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't sad tears anymore. They were something else. Hope. Belief. Something he hadn't felt since the doctors first told him about the cancer.
"Now here's what I need you to promise me," Ali continued, his hands still firmly on Billy's shoulders, looking deep into the boy's eyes. "You gotta beat cancer. Not try to beat it, not hope to beat it. Beat it. You gotta fight this cancer the exact same way I'm gonna fight George Foreman. You understand me?" Billy nodded, tears streaming down his cheeks now. "I want you to wake up every morning and say to yourself, 'I'm Billy, and I'm a fighter. I'm gonna beat this cancer.' You say it even when you don't feel good, especially when you don't feel good. You say it when the medicine makes you sick. You say it when you're scared. You say it every single day. Can you do that for me?" "Yes," Billy said, his voice quiet but determined. "I can't hear you," Ali said, but he was smiling now, that brilliant Ali smile that could light up the darkest room. "Yes," Billy said louder. "Still can't hear you," Ali teased, and now Billy was almost laughing through his tears. "Yes," Billy shouted, and everyone in the camp who was watching started clapping and cheering. "That's what I'm talking about," Ali said, pulling Billy in for another hug. "Now, I want you to promise me something. Say it out loud so everyone can hear. I'm gonna beat cancer." "I'm gonna beat cancer," Billy repeated, his voice still a bit shaky. "Say it like you mean it, like you're the champion." "I'm gonna beat cancer," Billy said, stronger now, more confident. "Louder!" Ali encouraged, and the whole camp joined in, clapping and cheering. "I'm gonna beat cancer," Billy shouted, at the top of his lungs, and the sound of it, this tiny, sick boy declaring war on his disease, brought tears to every eye in that training camp. Ali grinned. "That's right, you're gonna beat cancer, and I'm gonna beat George Foreman. We're both winners, Billy, both champions." Gene Kilroy captured another photo, Ali and Billy looking at each other, both smiling, both believing. He printed 2 copies, one for Billy's father, one for Ali to keep. As Billy and his father left that day, something had shifted in Ali. Gene Kilroy saw it in the champion's eyes. "What are you thinking, champ?" Ali was quiet. Then, "I gotta win this fight, Gene. I gotta win it for that little boy." For the next several weeks leading up to the fight in Zaire, Ali kept Billy's photo in the most prominent place in his training quarters. He tacked it right next to the mirror where he shadowboxed every morning. Before every single workout, without fail, he would touch that photo. Before every brutal sparring session, he'd look at it. When the doubt crept in during the darkest hours of training, when his body ached, when the younger sparring partners were getting the better of him, when the press was writing him off as a has-been, when the fear whispered in his ear that maybe everyone was right, maybe he was too old, he would stop what he was doing and stare at that photo. He'd look at Billy's face, at that brave smile, at those believing eyes, and he'd think, that little boy is fighting cancer right now. He's in a hospital somewhere, sick from chemotherapy, probably in pain, probably scared, but he made me a promise. He said he's gonna beat cancer. How can I, Muhammad Ali, complain about being tired? How can I quit when that boy isn't quitting? Angelo Dundee, Ali's trainer, noticed the change. Ali trained like a man possessed, Dundee later said. Like every punch was for someone who couldn't throw punches anymore. On October 30th, 1974, at 4 a.m. local time in Kinshasa, Zaire, Muhammad Ali did what nearly everyone said was impossible. Using a strategy he called the rope-a-dope, he absorbed George Foreman's powerful punches for 7 grueling rounds, leaning against the ropes, letting the younger, stronger man punch himself into exhaustion. Foreman threw everything he had at Ali, massive hooks, devastating uppercuts, body shots that would have felled most men. But Ali covered up, protected himself, and most importantly, he endured. Then in the 8th round, when Foreman's arms were heavy and his legs were tired, Ali saw his opening. He came off the ropes like a man reborn and unleashed a combination that sent George Foreman to the canvas. The referee counted to 10. The fight was over. Muhammad Ali, at 32 years old, against all odds, was the heavyweight champion of the world once again. The arena in Kinshasa exploded in celebration. 60,000 Africans chanting Ali, Bomaye, which means Ali, kill him, went absolutely wild. The entire world, watching on closed-circuit television and delayed broadcasts, was in shock. He'd done it. The comeback everyone said was impossible had just happened.
In the immediate aftermath, in the chaos of the ring, as people swarmed Ali, as reporters shouted questions, as his cornermen lifted him on their shoulders, Ali's first coherent thought was about Billy. In the midst of the greatest triumph of his career, surrounded by celebration and vindication, he thought about a little boy in a hospital bed,
somewhere in Ohio. About a week later, Gene Kilroy got a call. Billy's father. "Billy passed away yesterday," the man said, voice shaking. Kilroy's heart sank. "I'm so sorry." But Billy watched the fight from his hospital room. When Ali won, Billy was so happy. Despite terrible pain, he kept saying, "He did it. Ali kept his promise." The next day, Billy slipped away. The father paused. "We put that photo in his casket with a note, 'You're going to beat cancer, and I'm going to beat George Foreman.'" When Kilroy told Ali, the champion broke down crying. "I did it for him," Ali said through tears. "Every punch. I did it for Billy." "He knew, champ. He watched you win." Ali shook his head, but he didn't beat cancer. "Yes, he did," Kilroy said. "He fought brave. He didn't give up. He watched you win before he went. That was his victory." For years afterward, Ali kept Billy's photo on his bedroom wall. He never spoke about it publicly. It was private, secret. People close to Ali said that fight was different from all others because it wasn't about Ali. It was about a promise to a dying child. When asked about the Rumble and what motivated him, Ali would sometimes reference "a little boy who believed in me." He never said Billy's name, but those who knew understood. In 2016, at Muhammad Ali's funeral, Gene Kilroy shared the story publicly for the first time. He wanted the world to know Ali's greatest victory wasn't against Foreman. It was giving hope to a dying child and keeping his promise. Billy's father, now elderly, attended Ali's funeral. He brought that faded photo that had been in Billy's casket for 42 years. He'd had it exhumed and preserved for Ali's family. "Your father gave my son hope in his final days. He made Billy feel like a champion. That's the real Muhammad Ali." The story of Ali and Billy reminds us that greatness isn't measured only by titles. It's measured by promises kept to those who need us most. Ali promised a dying child he would win. He did, not because he was strongest, but because he carried that boy with him into the ring. Every punch was for Billy. Billy didn't beat cancer, but he gave Ali a reason to win bigger than ego or fame. He gave Ali purpose. And Ali gave Billy hope, dignity, and the gift of feeling important in his final days. When the photo was displayed at Ali's funeral, thousands saw it for the first time. A giant holding a tiny, bald child, both smiling, both believing. Underneath, Ali's family placed an inscription. "Service to others is the rent we pay for our time here on earth. Muhammad Ali." That photo now hangs in the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville, Kentucky. Thousands see it every year. Most stop and stare, moved by something they can't name. It's the image of true greatness. Not the trophy or belt, but the promise kept to a dying child. The champion who knew that losing meant nothing if you won what mattered most, giving hope to someone who had none. If this story moved you, remember, we all face battles, and we all have power to make promises that give others strength. Muhammad Ali understood that being great meant using your greatness to lift others up.
That's what greatness looks like. Not the trophy, but the little boy in the casket, holding a photo, remembered by a champion who never forgot him.